Hello, guys and girls. I'm standing up. I have not a space in my room to make the class. Welcome to our level 6, which is another interesting topic, and I think another short video, which deals with such an important concept for economics and social sciences, which is scarcity. You know that actually the very first for people that already studied economics during university or other moment in their life, economics has been for ages and decades defined as the science or the discipline that studies the allocation, the most efficient allocation of scarce resources for people or agents that want to maximize their level of well-being and satisfaction. So allocation of scarce resource. So actually, I prefer to define economics as the discipline that studies the structure of incentives, because indeed, what is really interesting is what drives people to do something to make a decision, but scarcity is there. As long as we talk about opportunity cost and we are evaluate the cost and benefit of an option, we are dealing with scarcity because there is not an indefinite level of consumption. As long as you study environmental economics, and sustainability has become such a relevant issue in the policy agenda, again, scarcity is there together with the concept of limits. Of course, for our purposes, and especially aimed at looking at what happened in terms of marketing strategy, scarcity is something that sometimes is exploited by the behavioral designer in order to make a certain option more salient. So if you want to go deep into a very nice book, which contains lots of amazing scientific reference with respect to the concept of scarcity, I'm suggesting this book by Eldar Shafir, Scarcity, Why Having Too Little Means So Much. I mean, indeed, Eldar Shafir is an economist working a lot on the issue of poverty, and indeed, this is a great book to deal with the concept of scarcity with an approach very close to behavioral science. So let's go into scarcity as a perception and providing an immediate example of what I'm saying when talking about the marketing strategy followed by company. I think maybe you went through this example even during the economics course second level. First level we did. Think about diamonds as precious stones. I mean, there is nothing such as something particularly unique with respect to diamonds, but indeed the way the market is structured is such. So specifically, the Dutch company De Beers has been able in years to launch campaigns that let perceive diamonds as something particularly unique with respect to emeralds, rubies, or other sapphires or other stones. But indeed, is not the case. And if you think about the commercial of De Beers, and I mean, I married my wife, so as long as you engage, typically the typical um, sign of the engagement is a diamond ring. Why that? Because it's perceived as the symbol of resistance, of eternity, which again is not strictly related to the nature of diamonds. I mean, even emeralds, sapphires, rubies are not that different in terms of properties, but the perception of our diamonds is different. And if you think about the commercial, De Beers uses this very simple and essential message: a diamond is forever. It doesn't say De Beers is forever. It says a diamond is forever because it's signaling out the uniqueness of diamonds with respect to the other stones, emeralds, sapphires, and rubies, which are the competitors. In terms of diamond, then, De Beers exerts a sort of monopolist market power in the market of diamond, and therefore is not really thinking about the competition of other producers of diamond. So in order to understand what we mean when dealing with scarcity, I mean, actually how companies use the perception of scarcity. Let's have a look at this.
Liquidators have burnt down the building and now they've sworn to brutally murder us if we don't sell all the remaining stock by midnight tonight. It's the Rug Emporiums. Trust us. This time we're not kidding. We really and truly are closing down for sure sale. We've managed to smuggle these rugs out of the inferno so we can pass the savings on to you. Jesus, this hurts. Can I get a lozenge, please? Rugs, runners, carpets, they all have to go. Again, this shipping container of rugs, if you can tow it, it's yours. This overacting idiot, make us an offer. This time we really mean it. This is genuinely our last sale ever. Except for maybe a couple more. So come on down to the Rug Emporium because these prices can't last and nor can my voice.
Well, I mean, this is a nice parody, but indeed, if you think about last limited edition sales, Black Friday, indeed, I mean, the sense of stress and urgency that these sales produce is really working on our perception of scarcity, of something that we need to buy because there is not enough, and we want to be between the lucky ones that are going to purchase a good or a service. And I mean, I'm going to provide a few examples on the use through digital platform of the sense of scarcity. For example, if you think about booking, and I mean, you may think about many other travel, as long as we will be able to travel again, platform that sell, I don't know, tickets, fares, but also the possibility of book an hotel. Booking works on our perception of scarcity because if you have the chance of going through the website, most of the time when you select a place, you look at the review, but there is always this message: we have just 5 rooms of the type left, or there are 3 other people that are looking at the same your product, and that of course creates a sense of urgency to buy, although that is not strictly related to the reality of what you're looking at, because maybe there are 5 rooms left in the website of booking, which is not something like saying this is a scarce resource. It's producing a sense of scarcity, is inducing us to do something. And it may work. I mean, it stresses us to do something, to activate and purchase. The same applies to the sales of Amazon, for example. I mean, the today's deals or in Black Friday, when there is like the clock going on saying how much time do you have in order to buy that good. If you join an auction on eBay, the same apply in order to produce the sense of scarcity of time, of limited amount of resources that is available for you in order to make a purchase. Another example, a good example coming from the New Yorker, a great magazine basically, that basically updated entirely its website and the online strategy. And once you make a huge investment in terms of digital infrastructure by changing the way in which you design your page, then you create a sense of scarcity to induce people to subscribe by, for example, giving offers like for 3 months, the entire archive will be totally free and available for consultation. So this is another way of producing a sense of scarcity. But I mean, this is the example I like most. If you are nerdy or old, most simply like me, and you are a big passionate of Back to the Future and the adventures of Marty McFly, you know that, I mean, the future of the old Back to the Future was 2015, so we are far after 2015, and one of the major products of the future of Marty McFly was the Nike Air that basically make you fly. And actually, Nike launched to celebrate Back to the Future a real product, like in a limited edition, resembling the self lacing shoes of Marty McFly, and that was a limited edition that was sold off in a minute. And after that, Nike launched a second bunch of product which are not related to Back to the Future, but have the same technology. So the laces that self restrict. And that again produce a big demand because of this sense of uniqueness that is perceived by the consumer. So this was the product launched by Nike in order to celebrate Back to the Future, sold off. But after that, second campaign, producing a new line of products launched by Nike that have the same technology. And of course, produce a big jump in demand. All the products that work on personalization and limited edition exploit the sense of scarcity. Think about Nutella that exploited the pandemic's perception, launching the campaign I Love Italy. I mean, we cannot travel. Why do not produce a sense of identification, of course, of warm glow, because everybody feel the connection with our country and the places we cannot see, but at the same time, you insist on the concept of scarcity by selling a limited edition set of jars that you can find now, but in a few months you cannot find anymore. And I'm a total fan of Lego, and Lego works a lot on, especially on the vintage market like myself, on this sense of scarcity. So limited edition that may be the Stranger Things, the NASA Apollo 11, the Central Perk in France, the chess the chess square from the Queen. I mean, it's not from the Queen's Gambit, but of course, it may be enhanced by a TV series. Wally, very limited edition. And I mean, my wife, during my wedding, prepare the delivery of the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars exactly during the ceremony. Great guy, by the way, the courier of Amazon that was working during a celebration day. We had the opportunity of calling the customer care of Amazon, great, in order to make him a gratification for that. It was an amazing moment. But still, all of these are producing a sense of scarcity. I need to have that set because in a while it's not going to be there anymore. So the sense of scarcity, of course, overlaps with some other mechanisms that we have had the opportunity of watching together, like the mental anchors. Because think about also the limits that you can buy. I mean, if you produce no limit in buying on average, I mean, this is the results of an experiment in which people were put in different settings. And I mean, the question is how many cans the consumers is gonna buy if you are in the set where there is no limit, so you can buy, you have not at all a sense of scarcity, and on average people buy 3.3 cans. Then there is a limit of 4, and now it increases a little bit, and with a limit of 12, which has nothing to do with your real needs, actually on average the consumer purchases 7 cans. So again, just producing a sense of limit and also an anchor changes the way in which the person behaves. This sense of scarcity again may be helpful for you to think about the story of our video game and situation in which we can exploit or face the perception of scarcity of resources. So indeed, we always talk about evolutionary biology, and indeed, this sense of scarcity comes from our very ancient ancestors, and we may talk about the fear of missing out. What is the intrinsic nature of human beings? To be together with your community, because that guarantees cooperation within your group, guarantees the possibility of surviving and developing. So it comes from there. I mean, if you read, and I will quote that later, Sapiens from Noah Harari, what is the main issue that the historian says is the core nature of human beings? An intrinsic sense of cooperation. Human beings, between all the other creatures, are the only creatures that aggregate in big numbers and cooperate between each other in order to create great groups that share rules. And of course, if this is the social organization of an entire species, the fear of missing out is a big driver of our individual behavior because we want to belong to our group. And of course, the fear of missing out, if we move from the purchase behavior of people towards the social networks behavior, is something that goes together with our attitude on the social. I mean, the social platform work a lot on this sense of instant gratification, of scarcity, of connection, of the perception of the fear of missing out, which enhance our will to post content, to write something, to share content, to connect to the others. And of course, that creates the opportunity of collecting revenues for all of these platforms. And indeed, we had the chance of discuss that in this first level, it creates a sense of urgency, which is directly related to scarcity. And I'm inviting you, if you did not, to watch the documentary that you can find on the Netflix, The Social Dilemma, which indeed, is very negative against social networks because it denounces this fear of missing out, the mechanism of instant gratification and addiction that, of course, may produce problems, psychological problems. I have to say, I don't completely agree with what the documentary say. First of all, because Netflix itself is a platform that uses algorithms in order to encourage our behaviors. So the fact that it hosts the documentary is a good sign of being in favor of thinking about what we do in our online life. But the point is, the social dilemma really is a good documentary to put on the table the issue. How do we behave on the social networks, and how do the social networks behave with us in terms of our time and in terms of the perception we have, or the availability of our time, the scarcity of our time. That is a great topic, and it's a great issue that is directly connected to what we say. So I'm ending up, so promise that my video is very short, with a free love consultancy if you need. Maybe you don't need. But it comes from a very good experiment that has been run by a couple of social scientists that use a very nice settings with couples. So the subjects of this experiment were couple, and the setting was like this. So you have two different group of couples. One is invited to watch together a movie, an horror movie, which is, I'm putting here The Ring because I'm totally obsessed by the little girl from The Ring, and it's really scary. Maybe for you it's a stupid movie, but for me it's incredibly scary. And I'm putting on the right side, the other group were faced with a very romantic movie like Serendipity, for example, that at my times was like the most celebrated love comedy of that time. And then, you have these two groups. One couple watches The Ring, the other couple watches Serendipity. And then the two couples are actually prompted with different messages. So one group will be prompted with a message visited by 1 million people last week, and the other like stand up from the crowd. So what do you think will be the attitude of the couples towards the possible places to visit in a trip? So do you think that the watcher of an horror movie are going to go in Iceland or in Paris? And the other. And actually, the interesting result is that people watching the love story were more in favor of visiting Iceland. I'm showing here Iceland to stand up from the crowd, and the watcher of the horror movie wanted to go for Paris or a place where the message is it has been visited by a bunch of people in a while. And why do we interpret that? And again, this is associated to all the reasoning we are doing about scarcity. Because from an evolutionary perspective, that makes total sense if you think about it. Because when we feel scared or in danger, we seek out the company of others to stay safe. So the instinct there is that if you watch an horror movie and you are prompted and primed with emotions like scare, then it's more likely you are searching for company outside. And I mean, that's the reason why you go for a place that is visited by a crowd of people. The other way around, if you actually are searching for, you watch a romantic movie. So when we want to attract a mate, and that is actually the intrinsic nature of human beings, it is necessary to stand out from the crowd to increase the chances in terms of animal of being noticed. So that's the reason why watching a love comedy sort of instinctively prompt you towards an isolated place because you want to go on with your ritual of seduction. And I mean, you want privacy with your significant other. So that is enough and very, very short for scarcity, but it will be shared with other materials on the Padlet, and you will have also the individual quiz. And let's level up to the last 3 levels that we miss in order to get to the end of this course. Ciao, ciao!